For parts 1 through 6, we're going to be doing it pretty simply. The first video will be row 1, row 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth. Anyway, let's begin. First and foremost, Mario. So this matchup regarding Falcon, I believe is, I would say -1 in Mario's favor. So a lot of what you're going to be doing traditionally is you're going to be relying on a combination of falling neutral airs, especially trying to land with Nair 2, run up forward tilt, and drifting away with back air, along with the occasional raptor boost as your main ways of moving around in neutral. Most of what Falcon and Mario are going to be doing is you're going to be trying to specifically stay mobile enough to where if Mario does get you with some stray hit, it is relatively unlikely that they will be able to convert it into a grab, falling up air, or falling fast fall neutral air into grab. Ultimately, you're mainly just trying to make sure that you're not necessarily trying to exclusively not get hit, but you're making sure not to get hit by the things that will lead to you just getting absolutely obliterated, as you can get destroyed off of Mario's combos in general, and it's something that can be very problematic. But our combo game on him is solid, but certainly not comparable to his on us. He can also edgeguard us pretty well, so they're mainly going to be looking for cape, down tilt at the ledge, flood, and trying to rock croc you with forward air, which is pretty effective. So usually against Mario, you want to try and recover extremely low. Recover low against them, make sure to save your double jump as long as possible, and make sure if you do blow your double jump, don't do it at a time where you're going to get flooded, because if you get knocked up like that, it'll be very easy for them to continue to shoot you with flood more, go out with cape, neutral air into neutral air, or whatever, and it's a bad time. Just don't worry about that. Negotiate space on the ground using what I talked about, and remember that Mario's combo breakers are very fast, so make sure that the combos you do have on him, you are absolutely sure are going to work, and if you aren't entirely sure they aren't, or that they will work, there's a lot of value in specifically avoiding like the aforementioned up B or Nair by anticipating them to press a button and then trying to parry it. Things like that. Plus then you'll be in a great position to get parry into up tilt, into F tilt, or parry up tilt into jabs, or parry F tilt into forced tech chase into whatever. Just stay patient, and above all else, don't get grabbed. But if you do, make sure that you DI as far away from it as possible, assuming that they're not going to be going onto a platform. If they're able to take you to a platform, you want to go straight up until they're at a point where they can no longer use their double jumps effectively to land on it. Because you have to remember that they want to use their up airs specifically at a very specific rhythm. So because of that, any way you can DI that will make them change their rhythm, even just a little bit, is quite worthwhile, and makes it that much more likely you'll be able to get out. Next up, Donkey Kong. Now this character I think we beat solidly, so I'd say it's +1 in Falcon's favor. Oh, something I forgot to mention, but the way plus and minus works in the context of matchups, to those of you who are new to the concept of matchup spreads, is if you go +1 against a character, then assuming both players are of equal skill, then you will win 1 more out of 10 than they will on average. Likewise, if it's +2, you'll win 7 for every 3 they win. If it's +8, you'll win 8 for... It's just a mathematical average used to designate how hard or easy a matchup is. So it's +1 our favor. You're going to be relying a lot on running jab, raptor boost, fishing for Nair 1s, dash grab, and dash attack as your main ways of moving around in neutral. The reason for this is a lot of Donkey Kong's hitboxes are rather large, and they can be fast, but you have to remember that Donkey Kong's neutral options outside of back air and dash attack are actually pretty non-threatening against Falcon. So because of that, you want to use a lot of running around and trying to scare them into not wanting to use dash attack, so they'll feel forced to either wait and whiff punish with their own dash attack, or hit you with back airs. The more you can discourage them from being able to dash attack effectively, the more you'll be able to impose your superior movement on them and get your own combo started. Obviously, both characters can combo each other quite well, but Falcon's combos on DK are significantly better than DK's on him, which says a lot because DK is a good combo game on Falcon. Make sure you learn your follow-ups. You can legitimately get 60 or more damage off of just completely normal conversions in neutral. It's kind of tragic, honestly. But that's just the DK life, especially against Falcon. With that in mind, a lot of the ways you want to be edge guarding for his recovery is you mainly have to keep in mind two different mix-ups when they're coming back with their up B. They're either going to up B and then just try to grab the ledge immediately / come at you and above the stage by just drifting forward the whole time, or they'll drift in place for a little bit and then come in. Basically, for most intents and purposes, you can think of covering their up B as being a 50-50. Whether it's just guessing whether they're going to come in immediately or do so with a delay. Either way, you just punish with down air. Or if they're coming high, up tilt, since it's a little bit easier to land with that, and it allows you to stay on the ledge. Either way, it doesn't really matter, because spiking DK at almost any percent is going to result in a kill. It's fantastic. Keep in mind, DK can edgeguard you effectively as well, so you have to be really careful. But for the most part, you really just have to look for back airs and like down air / down B at the ledge. Otherwise, recovering low and making sure that you use your double jump specifically when you think they're going to come off with a button into air dodge or up B or things like that is going to help you immensely in not getting killed. Otherwise, just make sure you don't panic and disadvantage, and in general, ask yourself ways you can move about after they've hit you that forces them to get a hard read in order to hit you again versus them just pressing buttons. Like jumping away from DK is usually going to be your best bet when one of his combos finishes rather than just drifting back with an aerial. Because DKs love it when you do that. They'll just run under you and then use their intangible limbs to up tilt you into more stuff and what have you. Don't play that game. Just run away from them, reset the situation, and stay patient. And you should be fine. Link is a character I think we probably go even with, although maybe down the road I wouldn't be surprised if we slightly win this matchup. How you move about specifically around boomerang, bombs, and arrows is you need to make sure that you're patient and you take the time needed to figure out how they're going to use their projectiles to control space. Like, if they're using boomerang, for instance, are they drifting backwards and then throwing it at a certain angle? Are they drifting forwards and throwing it at a certain angle? Take note of the specifics of what exactly they're doing, and then ask yourself what you can do about it. Because more often than not, Falcon's game against zoners is going to be relatively similar, simply because his burst range and burst options are good enough to where most of getting around projectiles is going to be just a matter of figuring out how exactly they're going to try and keep you out at any given moment, and then just use critical thinking to try and figure out what exactly you can do to break through in that situation. But more often than not, the best way of looking at it is to ask yourself, is there anything you can do before then by anticipating it and then breaking through a dash attack, raptor boost, or what have you? Or is the best bet to whiff punish? Just ask yourself, is it best to whiff punish, or is it best to do so preemptively and go from there? As for Nair, their ground tools in general, remember that a lot of Link's hitboxes are going to beat ours, even aside from projectiles. So because of this, playing a direct boxing game with Link is usually not a good idea. So, take your time, camp a little bit until you have an idea of how exactly they're going to use pretty much everything, and then just try and break those openings like I mentioned before. You can edgeguard Link pretty effectively, but make sure that if you're going to try and go off stage against him, that you rely especially on weak knee. Weak knee and down air are going to be your best tools against him. Both are incredible. Weak knee especially, as you can use it to cover up B angles, force him to recover high and then up B him, or it'll beat out his up B / get there before it comes out, and then you can just set it up into nair or up air or whatever. It's great. However, you have to also be very cautious of how he comes at you off stage. It's worth noting that, I'm not going to preface this, Link's edgeguarding on us is brutal. With a combination of bombs, nair, and reverse up B, it can be a nightmare to recover against this character off stage, but at the same time, it goes both ways, so that's just the matchup. Otherwise, with that in mind, make sure that you respect a lot of his sword moves on shield, as most of them are going to be fairly safe against Falcon, except when close. Assuming he doesn't nair, you can punish most of his things out of shield with up B if you anticipate it properly, because if you're not nearly frame perfect with up B out of shield, you're only going to be able to beat out the slowest of slow moves. But you can keep them fairly honest and force them to just nair and back air otherwise. Last but not least, Link can nair on your shield and then spot dodge cancel before you can shield grab him or whatever. So make sure that you try and guess what button he's going to press after landing on you with nair, rather than trying to punish the nair itself. It's just not worth it, trust me. Either way, Samus and Dark Samus next. I think these matchups are probably even. Also might be slightly our favorite. Funnily enough, for some of the same reasons that Link is. So with that in mind, what you're going to be doing against Samus is mainly going to be trying to move around Zair, figure out how exactly they want to dash attack, and then use a combination of landing Nair 2, Raptor Boost on movement reads, run up forward tilt, especially downward angled forward tilt to set up reaction tech chases, coming in with back air, and occasionally Falcon Kick if you think they're going to do a missile, but only if you do it early. The reason you want to use a lot of those moves is for F tilt, it's good for having a long range option that can contest a lot of her buttons. Raptor Boost goes without us saying, Nair 2 goes without saying, so on and so forth. Most of what they're going to be doing is relying on a combination of falling with Zair, drift away F tilt, threatening charge shot and B reverse charge shot mix-ups, and then mixing it up with the occasional dash grab and dash attack to try and keep you honest. So because of this, you want to take the time needed to try and figure out how exactly they're going to set up their dash attacks or dash grabs, as everything else they do in this matchup is entirely built around how